25 days. That is how long until the NFL draft opens in Pittsburgh. 25 days until Andrew Berry walks to the podium, until the picks are made, until the final chapter of this extraordinary Cleveland Browns offseason gets written in real time in front of every analyst and every reporter and every fan who has been watching this rebuild unfold since January. And right now, today, March 28, 2026, the chaos surrounding Shedeur Sanders and what the Browns are going to do with their 2 first-round picks is not winding down as the draft approaches. It is accelerating, exploding, generating the kind of NFL-wide buzz and team reaction and analyst debate that you normally only see around a player who is at the absolute center of the most important story in the entire sport. And that is exactly where Shedeur Sanders is right now, at the center of everything. Because here is what happened in the last 48 hours that has the entire league talking. Mel Kiper, live on ESPN, in what became the most watched, most clipped, most shared segment of the entire off-season analysis season, looked directly at his colleague Field Yates and dropped the most unambiguous, most forceful, most completely committed statement about a specific player's value that you will ever hear from a man who grades draft prospects for a living. Yates had just said he believes the Browns need to figure out Ty Simpson, needs to figure him out, as if the existing quarterback on their roster was not the answer, as if the 5th-round pick who made the Pro Bowl, who beat Pittsburgh and Cincinnati back-to-back, was some kind of placeholder to be managed around, rather than a talent to be invested in. And Kiper was not having it. The Browns don't need to worry about Ty Simpson. They got a better quarterback than Ty Simpson in Shedeur Sanders. Don't go there. Don't go there. 3 words from Mel Kiper on live television, the man who has been grading NFL quarterbacks for 4 decades, who watched Shedeur Sanders get passed over 143 times and called the NFL clueless for it, who has studied every snap of this player's professional career, and his message to the Cleveland Browns, delivered directly, publicly, without a single qualifier, is unambiguous. You have a better quarterback than Ty Simpson. His name is Shedeur Sanders. Do not waste your draft capital chasing a player who ranks below the player already in your building. That statement landed like a bomb in the Cleveland sports media ecosystem, because it was not just Kiper defending Sanders in the abstract. It was Kiper telling the Browns front office in real time on national television in a way that every executive in that building is going to hear and feel and have to respond to internally, that the draft capital they are about to deploy should not be going toward a quarterback. It should be going toward the offensive weapons and the infrastructure that allows the quarterback they already have to prove what the tape shows he can do. And that argument, the Kiper argument, the Myles Garrett first serve argument, the Mary Kay Cabot fan sentiment argument, the Todd Monken elite playmaking ability argument, is gaining momentum at exactly the moment when the counter-argument is also gaining momentum. And the counter-argument is equally compelling, equally sourced, equally grounded in real evidence, and it goes like this. Adam Caplan of SiriusXM, appearing on Cleveland's 92.3 The Fan just 4 days ago, dropped a revelation that recontextualized the entire Shedeur Sanders story in ways that the football world needs to understand completely. There was this belief in coaching circles that if you want to work with the Browns, you've got to at least believe that Shedeur Sanders will be a factor in the quarterback position, Caplan revealed about the team's hiring process. Nobody's handing him the job, to be clear, but there was this belief that, look, there's talent with this guy. There's no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, I strongly believe had there not been concerns with his character, he would not have gotten out of the 3rd round of last year's draft. Out of the 3rd round. Not just the 1st round, not just the 2nd round, the 3rd round. If the character concerns had not existed, if the pre-draft interview situation had not happened the way it apparently happened, Shedeur Sanders would have been a top 100 pick, maybe top 75, maybe higher. And here is the full context of what Caplan revealed, the context that makes his assessment simultaneously hopeful and sobering at the same time.
It has nothing to do with off the field, Caplan explained. We're not talking about getting into any trouble.
Not off the field, not criminal conduct, not behavior that violates any code of conduct or league policy. The character concerns were entirely about the pre-draft process, about how Shedeur Sanders presented himself in formal interviews with NFL teams, about the perception, whether fair or unfair, whether accurate or exaggerated, that he was dismissive, entitled, not sufficiently eager to impress. The same anonymous coaches who called him not that good and said his interview was the worst they had ever conducted. The same pre-draft process that produced a mysterious, unexplained slide from consensus top 10 pick to pick 144. All of that, according to Caplan's direct reporting from sources inside coaching circles, was enough to drop him 50 or more spots on draft boards that were otherwise excited about his football talent. And here is where the chaos gets most interesting, because the character concern narrative, the one that drove the draft slide, that has been used to justify every skeptical analysis of Sanders' potential as a franchise quarterback, is now running directly into a counter-narrative that is building in strength and credibility with every passing week. The Sporting News put it directly. The Browns are finally, after years of throwing darts at the quarterback board, confident enough to put their eggs in one basket, and that basket is the Shedeur Sanders basket. Draft experts around the league predict that Cleveland will use their first-round picks to put Sanders in a proper position to succeed, rather than drafting yet another quarterback to compete with him. Put their eggs in one basket. The same organization that drafted Gabriel in the 3rd round and Sanders in the 5th in 2025, the same general manager who admitted at the Combine that the quarterback solution might be internal or external, is now being described by national analysts as having made their choice. Not declared it publicly, not said the words at a press conference, but made the choice. In contracts and signings and coaching hires and free agency decisions that all tell the same story, the Shedeur Sanders basket. And the draft, the 2026 NFL Draft, 25 days away, is the moment where that choice either gets confirmed or complicated, because the draft board is not clean, it is not simple. It is not just a matter of taking the best available offensive lineman and the best available receiver and walking out of Pittsburgh with exactly the roster Cleveland needs, because the quarterback question, whether Sanders is the answer or whether the draft delivers someone who demands organizational attention, is going to be on the table when those picks are announced. Kiper's ESPN colleague, Field Yates, made the opposing case directly. The Browns need to figure out Ty Simpson, Yates said, and his reasoning, while Kiper rejected it, reflects genuine organizational uncertainty that exists beyond the ESPN studio. Because here is what the counter-narrative to the Kiper argument acknowledges that the Kiper argument does not fully address. Shedeur Sanders' rookie numbers were not good by any objective standard. The numbers aren't great, and the tape leaves you wanting more. We've seen Tennessee Titans rookie Cam Ward elevate a below-average cast while his numbers improve. Consistency matters when evaluating these rookies, and so far, Sanders has been anything but consistent. Cleveland Browns Cam Ward, the comparison that hurts the most, because Ward, drafted by Tennessee, given a similar situation of a rebuilding team around a young quarterback, performed at a level that made the evaluation easy, that made the answer obvious, that made nobody in the football world question whether the Titans had found their franchise signal caller. His rookie numbers were not just acceptable, they were impressive. Impressive enough that by the end of the season, the conversation had shifted from "Can Ward be a starter?" to "How good can Ward become?" And Sanders' rookie numbers, the 10 interceptions, the 56.6 completion percentage, the 18.9 QBR, never reached that level of clarity, never made the evaluation easy, never answered the fundamental question in the way that Ward's performance answered it for Tennessee. And that specific, uncomfortable, statistically documented gap between Sanders' rookie production and the standards set by other quarterbacks who entered the league at the same time is what is driving every piece of NFL chaos surrounding his name right now. Because the Browns are 25 days from the most important draft of Andrew Berry's, and they are arriving at that draft having rebuilt the offensive line without officially declaring their quarterback, having chosen not to sign a veteran alternative without officially committing to the one they have, having spent the entire spring sending every possible signal that Shedeur Sanders is the plan, without once using those exact words in any press conference or any official team communication. ESPN reporter Daniel Oyefusi gave the most honest, most complete assessment of where things stand. The first and second waves of free agency have passed. No quarterback has been added. The only other real logical way to add a quarterback is through the draft. But they're not going to get Fernando Mendoza. We'll see about Ty Simpson and some of these other guys. But really, I think this current quarterback room is what we're looking at when we talk about a quarterback competition and who is going to lead this offense in 2026.
ESPN's current quarterback room: Watson, Sanders, Gabriel. That is the room. That is what the Browns have. And that is, based on Oyefusi's assessment, based on the free agency silence, based on every organizational signal from the last 6 weeks, likely to remain the room when April 23rd arrives and the picks are made. With the caveat, always, eternally, maddeningly the caveat, that the draft could add a mid-round quarterback who provides depth and competition without displacing Sanders from his position at the top of the hierarchy. Now let's talk about how the rest of the NFL is reacting. Because the chaos around Shedeur Sanders is not just a Cleveland story, it is a league-wide story. And the teams that did not draft him, the 31 franchises that passed on him 143 times, are watching what is happening in Cleveland with a mixture of fascination, relief, and in some cases, genuine regret. The Pittsburgh Steelers are watching, because Pittsburgh, who needs a quarterback desperately, who passed on Sanders multiple times in the draft, who has been cycling through veteran options with the same futility that the Browns showed for 20 years, is now being told by Mel Kiper that the Browns have a better quarterback than anyone available in this draft class at the position. Which means, if the Steelers want a quarterback in April, they are not getting one who is definitively better than the player their divisional rival is developing. They are getting a consolation prize, a developmental project, a bet on potential rather than confirmed ability. The New York Jets are watching, the team that has been quarterbacked by one disappointment after another for decades, that had Aaron Rodgers for 4 snaps before he tore his Achilles, that has been searching for stability with a desperation that makes Cleveland's situation look almost organized, is looking at this draft class and hearing Kiper say that Ty Simpson is not as good as Shedeur Sanders, and processing what that means for their own quarterback future. The Arizona Cardinals are watching. The Las Vegas Raiders are watching. The Atlanta Falcons, where Kevin Stefanski just arrived as head coach, with Dylan Gabriel potentially on his way in a trade, are watching. Local Browns beat writer Scott Petrak captured the full uncertainty with the most honest insider assessment available. I do think quarterback is in play somewhere. I don't know if that's at 24 or 39 or not into the 3rd round. Again, that depends on if they sign Malik Willis or trade for Mac Jones or whatever that veteran quarterback option is. But I think this week, everything's on the table. It's going to be heavily slanted toward offense, and when you're talking about the offensive needs, it's line, receiver, and a quarterback. Line, receiver, quarterback. That is the honest priority list from the man who covers this team every single day. Not just line and receiver. Quarterback is in play. At 24 or 39 or in the 3rd round, or not at all if the veteran addition happens before the draft. Everything is on the table. And that everything on the table reality, coming from the reporters and analysts who know this organization best, is what makes the chaos so genuinely, persistently, agonizingly real. Because here's the thing about the Cleveland Browns and their quarterback situation that the national debate keeps circling back to without fully landing on. The chaos is not primarily about Shedeur Sanders' talent. Kiper has established that the talent is real. Munkin's elite playmaking ability comment has established that the talent is real. The Pro Bowl selection has established that the talent is real.
The back-to-back wins against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati have established that the talent is real. The chaos is about whether talent is enough when the evaluation period was so compromised, when the environment was so broken, when the organizational dysfunction that Jarvis Landry described, the play-calling abdication, the forced or persuaded decisions, the dimmed-out connection between coaches and players, created a rookie season that cannot be used as a reliable evaluation baseline, because you cannot evaluate a quarterback's development when his experience was survival. You cannot draw conclusions about ceiling from a season where the wall in front of him allowed pressure on 4 out of every 10 dropbacks.
The Sporting News framed the Browns' situation with perfect clarity. Cleveland is finally confident enough to put their eggs in one basket, to stop throwing darts at the quarterback board, and that basket is Shedeur Sanders. The draft experts around the league predict the first-round picks go to receivers and offensive linemen who put Sanders in a position to succeed. That is the whole experiment. Build the wall? Done. $100 million. Titus Howard, Zion Johnson, Elbton Jenkins, Tevin Jenkins. Install the system? Done. Todd Monken, Championship Blueprint, Baltimore DNA. Add a receiver? Coming. First-round pick in Pittsburgh. And then, and only then, evaluate the quarterback. Not the one who survived behind a 31st ranked offensive line in a fractured organizational environment in 2025. The one who operates in 2026 in a rebuilt, coherent, specifically designed environment where the conditions are finally fair. Even Walter Football's mock draft, one of the most respected, most consistently accurate mock draft resources in football, is pointing in the same direction. Their analysis notes that Browns ownership seems to like Shedeur Sanders and may want to give him one more year, leading Cleveland to take the best available non-quarterback with their top picks. One more year. Not forever. Not an unconditional commitment to a player regardless of performance. One more year. Behind a rebuilt line, in a new system, with weapons being added in April. And then, 1 year from now, with a genuine evaluation sample rather than a survival sample, the verdict gets delivered. That is the plan. That is the Browns' shocking strategy that nobody fully expected when January began. And that is what has the entire NFL reacting, some with admiration, some with skepticism, some with the specific frustration of organizations that passed on this player and are now watching Cleveland make the investment they declined to make. Mel Kiper believes in Shedeur Sanders more than the Browns believe in Shedeur Sanders. That is perhaps the most extraordinary sentence of this entire draft season. The ESPN analyst who has studied every snap of this player's career is more committed to the argument that he is a franchise quarterback than the organization that is supposedly building around him. And the Browns, through every action, every contract, every free agent non-signing, have been making the commitment that their public language has been refusing to make explicit. 25 days. The chaos will not stop. The debate will not resolve. The Kiper versus Yates argument will continue on every ESPN platform between now and April 23rd. Petrak will keep writing that quarterback is in play. Cabot will keep getting calls from sources inside the building who are telling her things that point in multiple directions simultaneously. And Andrew Berry, the general manager who is under more pressure than anyone in his position has been in Cleveland since the franchise returned in 1999, will sit in a war room in Pittsburgh and make the decisions that either validate everything this offseason has been building toward or introduce a new layer of chaos into an already chaotic situation. The drama draft has exploded. The teams are reacting, and at the center of it all, preparing for the most important football season of his young life, posting motivational content on new social media accounts, working out with his receivers in March, still chasing something the results have not yet confirmed, but the talent has never stopped suggesting, is Shedeur Sanders. The 5th-round pick, the one who was never supposed to be here. The one who is, still, through all of it, through every debate and every skeptical take, and every anonymous source and every ESPN disagreement, still here, still chasing it.